by the time I was 12 or 13, I was basically in charge of the home. My mom was great and she loved me and everything, but mentally, her mental capacity is that similar to a teenager. So by the time I was a teenager, I was far more intellectual, far better with understanding budgeting and money and those kinds of things. And so a lot of decisions that came down at home were mine to be made. By the time my brother was 3 or 4, he'd come to me to ask for permission to do things and not my parents. My stepfather worked all the time, and that was, to make the money to pay the bills, and I respected that. But my parents were terrible with money. They still are, and that's why I am my mom's rep pay and help manage her finances now. I make sure that the rent's paid and all of that. So I've been doing that for a very long time, of making sure that things get taken care of. That on explaining or trying to help people understand, prioritize bills, things like that. So.
Gotcha. So, would you say that you learned much about femininity as it is to you from your mother, either in contrast or in likeness?
Not particularly. The one thing I've learned from my mom that I am very, very grateful for is my mom, although her mental capacity is that of a young person, she has a very big heart. She's very much caring about other people, always willing to give people second and third and fourth chances because she cares about them and wants them to be okay. That's probably the most important thing that I learned from my mom, and something that also resonates with me. I very much want people to be okay.
That's a good goal to have.
It is.
Yeah. So you mentioned, being 12, 13, high performing, basically parentified by your situation. What were relationships like for you? Were you able to have any with all that chaos around you?
Not really. Most of the relationships that I had, as far as romantic type relationships, were like long distance. It was just easier to talk to somebody from far away. But I stayed busy. When I got into high school, I started playing football. I started getting involved in as much as possible. I learned my second coping mechanism in life. The first one I learned was eating my feelings. You can tell I still do that. But my second one, which you can also tell I still do, is to be very, very involved and very, very busy with things. The more I could do, the more productive I could be, the easier it was to not deal with the emotions and the feelings, and the easier it was to hide. At that time, really nobody knew except myself that I was trans, that I was different. I was a very good actress. Nobody had any idea. I was the stereotypical jock football player, big, strong person, walking around looking a little intimidating to keep people away, to keep my walls up. I had very few close friends, and they had no idea. So it was when I did finally eventually get to the point of coming out years later, it was a shock to a lot of people. But back then it was mostly just stay busy and survive. The goal was to survive. The goal was to get to that place where I could be completely independent and be in a position to have as much control as I could over my life.
Gotcha. So you talk about your goals of, prioritizing career, education, and now you are back in MCLA, where we are graciously being lent the Gender and Sexuality Center for this interview.
Yes.
What is it like to be back in your, home grounds of college and starting what's a pretty impressive career now?
It's very eye-opening. It's different. Everything's a little different than it used to be. Buildings have been redesigned and remodeled, but it's I always feel welcome here. Always have. So that's always been a good thing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So there's awesome. Right, there was something I wanted to ask you in particular, because I noticed there's, this kind of, yin and yang of first you started out with, this, huge sports fascination and being, what was it, a linebacker?
Offensive, defensive line.
Offensive, defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell, I know nothing about sports, but getting to my point, then you were a professional chef for a while as well. Right?
Not a professional, but I have a culinary background.
Culinary background.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a contrast between things we see as stereotypically masculine and stereotypically feminine. Would you say that your gender colored how you viewed these pursuits at all?
No, I always felt, in that mindset of being a professional, to have as many backup plans as possible, to always be employable, to always have skills. I went to McCain Technical High School and did information technology. Then I came here to MCLA and got a business degree. While I was here, I worked at the computer help desk for 5 years. So I put that background in information technology from high school to use to work through college. After college, job prospects weren't great, so I went back to school. I went to Berkshire Community College for a year and got a culinary arts certificate. While working in restaurants, I began working in healthcare. Got a job at the North Adams Hospital before they closed, which they're reopening. It's great. But I was doing admissions work there. Then from that, I started working in pharmacy. Moved away for about a year, lived in Saugus, Massachusetts, worked in Wakefield at a long-term care hospital, became a registered pharmacy technician, certified pharmacy technician. Moved back here, started working at CVS, and that's where I ended up coming out. And then I also worked at a nursing home doing insurance staff. So I've had jobs in a lot of different fields. I have a very diverse background.